Hey folks, we're live. This is another episode of Address This Mess. Fucking laughing.
That music's so great.
This is another episode of Address This Mess. Start off here. We got to get our sponsors out of the way. Well, we got a special guest on the show tonight. We got Kevin Bartini. Is that right? Is it Bartini?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, perfect. And we'll start with our first sponsor here. Sting, you want to come in with it?
These are some of the people bringing you the show today, helping bringing the show. On it is a supplement company that they work mostly online, and their supplements are actually really interesting. I know I take a couple of them. I know you take a couple of them.
Yeah.
I know their
Brand.
Shroom Tech really works really well. I know we do the Alpha Brain here for the podcast and for other things. I don't know how much placebo effect works into that, but I certainly believe in these products. And Onnit's mission is to inspire peak performance through a combination of unique products and actionable information. Combining bleeding-edge science, earth-grown nutrients, and time-tested strategies from top athletes and medical professionals, they're dedicated to providing their customers with supplements, foods, and fitness equipment aimed at helping people achieve a new level of well-being, which they call total human optimization.
All right, so that's on it. Go to our website, www.addressthismess.com. Go to our sponsor link and click the link and buy some shit. Help us out. The second one we got is Amazon.ca. If you don't know what Amazon is, Amazon's an online shopping super center. They got everything you could possibly need. Yeah, go there, go to our website, click the link. Next one, you do.
The next one is Audible. It's actually a brainchild of Amazon. They're a company that is born of Amazon. They give you audiobooks that you can listen to on the go. I know I'm re-listening. I read Chomsky's Hegemony or Survival, and I could absorb maybe 10 pages because I'm ridiculously dumb. So I figured the only way I'm going to get this book is if I listen to it 10 times, but you don't have time to read it 10 times, but you can definitely find a way to listen to it on the way around. So Audible's good if you're at the gym, you've got to commute to work, anything like that. You can get books out of the way if that's your thing. So go to audible.com on the website, click through, and get yourself some audiobooks, get yourself some knowledge.
And lastly is the old Dollar Shave Club. It's a pain in the ass having to go to the store, buy some razors, and they're ridiculously overpriced. I mean, you're looking at $20 for top-notch razors here. And for $3.50 a month Canadian, they'll send you 5 razors directly to your door. That's Dollar Shave Club. Go to there, saving you time and shaving you money. All right, now that's out of the way. Kev, what's going on?
What's up, fellas? How are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's good to have you.
Yeah, man, good.
You made me chuckle already. You said if you don't know what Amazon is, and I'm just willing to make a bet that anybody who's web savvy enough to find a podcast and download it probably's heard of a store on the web. It's probably somewhere on their radar.
I would sure hope so. We're hitting the wrong demographic if they don't know.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, anytime.
And for folks that don't know, Kev's actually a stand-up comedian out of New York. Is where you do. I've seen you on your website there. Go to kevinbartini.com. You get a list of all the shows and what Kevin's doing. He's got some really funny stuff. And I think most of us are interested here that about your starting comedy. I mean, when did you make the decision to do it? How'd you stumble into the world of comedy?
Well, I started I grew up in the '80s and was a kid during the whole boom, the whole stand-up boom, and it was on every channel. And I got into Saturday Night Live, the original cast, when I was 6 years old, and stand-up at about the same time. And from that moment on, I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I went, and basically right out of high school, I was 19, I think 19 years old when I started, and I started by going to a comedy club in Albany that was 45 minutes from my parents' house, and I would do guest spots there, and then after a year, I moved down to New York City, and I started working the door at Stand Up New York, and doing that, delivering French fries and unclogging toilets and spending the whole night. Just you're paid $15 and a pizza, but you get to watch all these awesome guys. We're going back 14 years now, but I was watching Gaffigan and Jim Norton and Attell and Greg Giraldo every night, and watching them how they how they went about writing and the process of honing and stuff. So it was like going to college for me. And from there, it was just been working in New York City and going out on the road pretty constantly ever since.
What's that road life like? Like, where do you what spots do you frequent, and what are some good clubs out there around the country?
Mostly what I do is in New York, adjacent. Most of the stuff is things I can drive to in about 8 hours or less, and that's just by virtue of coming up in this area. I've got a lot more connections with a lot more bookers locally. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then so I'll fly and head out to other parts of the country. I've been all over the place, but generally I spend most of my road time here in the Northeast, and it's great, man. I mean, it's you get to go, you get to do an hour, you get to meet new people. If you're spending the weekend there, there's new town, new place to explore, and just trying to make fans all over the place. So it's I like doing the road. It's not lonely and it's not boring for me. For some guys, it's a real drag, but I do it a couple weekends a month and then stay here in the city a couple of weekends. So it's a pretty good balance.
Nice. Have you ever done any comedy out on the West Coast? Like out in California?
Sorry, cut now.
So have you done any comedy out on the West Coast?
Yeah, I was out to Seattle last year, and I was out to I've been to Vegas.
Nice.
And a little bit in California.
Do you notice a difference? Like, is it quite, because Boston comedy is a staple.
Yeah.
Is it a different scene coming across? Like, what do you notice a difference performing out west compared to back east?
No, not especially. Comedy fans are comedy fans.
Yeah.
And it's so, it's I don't know the right term. I want to say gentrified, but that's not the right term. But it's not local. I mean,
Yeah.
a guy in Anchorage, Alaska can watch the same clip of me or can watch the same Comedy Central special as the guy in Boston.
Right.
And if they're fans of your stuff, they'll come out. And if they're fans of comedy in general, they'll come out. So I don't generally subscribe to one town or one city is smarter or better or more sophisticated or all that different. I just go in and I do what I do, and I hope that whatever audience digs it, and that's how I look at it. For me, the difference in cities is the difference in things that you get to do during the day. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like
If you're in a higher profile town.
Going to a place that come for the comedy and just stay for the strip mall.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
That's why I like to go to bigger cities and stuff, because there's always something cool to kill some time, or if nothing else, somewhere to go golfing or something like that.
Yeah. That's sick.
Yeah.
Transversely, what's the scene in New York? I see you hang out at Gotham a lot. Is that where you usually work out? Gotham comedy?
One of the places. It's not the most frequent, but yeah, Gotham's a great club. New York it's a wild scene for comedy. There's a dozen at least full-time comedy clubs, and then beyond that there are hundreds of bars and rooms and privately run comic run shows every week, and then there's open mics, and there, if you want to hustle for it, there's a lot of stage time to be had, and some of the stage time is better than others, but there's a lot of places to perform, and a lot more comics looking for the spots too. So it's competitive, and you have to keep writing and stay on top of your game, just so you can stay competitive to get those spots.
Yeah.
Right, and then also on top of that, like somewhere like the Cellar or something, who are some of the guys that'll come drop in there that bump everybody? Those heavyweights, those Louis, those Chris Rocks.
I don't spend a lot of time at the Cellar, but the guys who come in and the big guys on the scene, Jim Gaffigan comes through a lot. When I'm down at Gotham, it's not uncommon for Jerry Seinfeld to drop in. I've had personally, when I'm hosting a show, that's kind of cool, because when you bring on one of these special drop-ins, people at first in the audience, they always have the same reaction. They think you're messing with them. There's a second where they clap like, "Oh, you got us," and then they see the dude, and then they go nuts. So I know as a host have brought up Robin Williams like that.
Oh wow, yeah.
Ooh.
Al Franken before he was a senator. Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, all those guys, they'll just drop in. That's the cool thing about the New York scene is these huge guys will just drop in, and Lewis Black, people like that.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's awesome. You ever see somebody eat their balls because they had to come on after a big drop in like that?
Oh sure. Oh yeah.
Is that real common? Yeah. Like how are you gonna follow Louis when he stops by, right?
Well, it's different. I mean, if the guy comes in and he's a huge star and he does an hour and a half, it's going to be tough to follow. If he comes in and the show has already been going on for an hour and a half or 2 hours and he does some time, that's really tough to follow because the audience at that point now has been there 2 hours and they're like, well, it's getting no better than this.
Yeah,
and
right.
They follow Jerry Seinfeld out the door, and all of a sudden I've had that where I was waiting to go on to 180 people in a packed room, and literally they're just like, okay, the show's over. It gets no better. And all I ended up playing for was 4 people who were at the very front table who felt obliged because the host rushed me on and
Yeah.
just, well, let me go.
You made eye contact with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to stick around. He may kill himself if everybody we'll be here virtually against our will. But then there's other times where, the stars align and somebody big comes in and it just hypes the audience even more, if they have a good set and everybody's like, well, this is a great night. I remember going on after Chris Rock and that circumstance and you just address it. Like the first thing I said when I got on stage was like, I know everybody in this room is thinking the same thing. I can't wait to get to work tomorrow morning and tell everybody the last night I was at Stand Up New York and Kevin Bartini dropped in.
Yeah.
And I address it, I get a laugh, and then just go into your thing. So there's many different things can happen in those situations.
What is it like bombing for the first time? Like that's the biggest fear I think that keeps most people from going on stage because you know what's going to happen. You're going to bomb for sure.
Sure you do.
But every comedian says you just like you bomb, you just go out and like do it again and just keep going and getting up there.
That's true. I don't remember. I mean, it sucks. Bombing sucks. I don't know that it hurt any more the first time than the 10 millionth time, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It always sucks for its own reason. But what I always tell young comics, a lot of times there's a guest spot and an open micer who they throw up to do a guest spot at the beginning of a show, and I chat with them. And one thing I always tell them is I recommend, especially like for the first 6 months, if you can help it, don't let anyone you know or love see you perform. Just go and be able to bomb in anonymity. Because if you go on and you tank, your first time, you're the kid doing 5 minutes at the beginning of the show. They're not going to remember you bombing. As bad as it looks to you,
Yeah.
20 minutes later, they're laughing at the feature act, and they've forgotten all about you.
Yeah.
And they're going to be talking the next day about the headliner or the pros and how good they were, or that the headliner bombed. But
Right.
they're not going to remember you. And chances are, 6 months later, if they're at the same club and you happen to be doing another guest spot, they're probably not going to remember that they saw you anyway. So
Right.
it's like, who gives a damn if you bomb or not? Nobody leaves there. It's like it never happened. It's
Yeah.
just a growing, learning experience for you. I mean, that's why we still, even guys who, like myself, I get to headline and stuff, but I still will go into a coffee shop in New York that's an open mic when I'm really, sometimes working out a new bit or just don't know what I want to talk about next.
Yeah.
And just go up and pretty much, ramble and riff, and
Yeah.
you're almost guaranteed to bomb, but
Yeah.
nobody paid to see me specifically. Nobody I know and love is there witnessing it.
Yeah.
I'm not putting up on the web. It's just the growing process. And
Yeah.
once you realize that bombing is as big a part of growth as getting laughs and killing, then you just accept it as part of the job and you move on. So I could bomb tonight at Bananas out in New Jersey, and even if I bomb as hard as I possibly could, at this point, I'm not going to be driving home thinking of cutting the wheel into oncoming traffic.
Yeah, man,
I'll
for
do
sure.
another good show tomorrow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where's that you're playing tonight? You playing at Bananas?
Bananas Comedy Club in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. Yeah.
What time?
The show's at 9, and
Perfect.
then there's 2 tomorrow. I'm actually opening. I don't do a lot of opening anymore, but I'm opening for J.J. Walker, who I've never met. Remember from Good Times in the 70s?
Really?
No. This
Yeah.
guy, no.
Yep, I'm opening for him. That's kind of I like that club because it's very close to my house. it's 20 minutes, and I can be home, and every time I'm out there, there's somebody cool that I'll get to open for. And JJ Walker happened to be it. Before it was Dom Irrera. And,
Oh, sick.
yeah, Dave Coulier once from Full House.
Yeah.
No way.
Bob Slayton and Kyle, it's cool because those are a lot of guys that I used to watch. Like I said, when I was in the '80s and when I was a kid watching the comedy boom, Dom Irrera, people like that were awesome. And then you get a chance to go out and work for a weekend opening for him. It's such a cool experience.
Yeah, who like when you were coming up watching guys, obviously as a young comic, you must have had some influences. And how do you if you did you recognize anything? You know how sometimes you'll see young comics and they're doing like Attell's cadence, or
Yes.
they catch themselves. Like, did you get any of that when you started, and how did you break free of it? Your influences.
Yeah, Lewis Black was definitely an influence, and I know there's times where I definitely I was doing a Lewis Black impression looking back,
Right, the yelling.
Well, the thing with Lewis was before I actually ever stepped foot on a comedy club stage, I spent a summer at a theater festival called the Williamstown Theater Festival, and I apprenticed all summer because this is it's the #1 summer stock place in the world, and this is where movie stars go to do theater during the summer and shit.
Yeah.
When I was there, the summer I was there, Gwyneth Paltrow was there, and she had just won the Oscar 2 months before, and David Schwimmer was there, and he was top. Friends was at its peak, and Ethan Hawke and all these other people. And the reason I went up was because Lewis Black summers there and teaches the apprentices the stand-up class. So I spent the whole summer doing whatever just so that I could take Lewis's class. And so technically the very first time I ever did stand-up on stage was for a show at the festival for all the other apprentices.
Yeah.
And I did it. And I did my jokes, but I delivered them in Lewis Black style as an added thing. I even wore a tie. I just do Lewis. But so I found over the years that, especially if I'm ripping and getting ramped up on things, I pick up his cadence a little. But I don't know. But otherwise, Seinfeld was a huge influence, and obviously George Carlin, and even guys like that were way before my time, like Bob Hope and Woody Allen. Like their stand-up is awesome and has been an influence to me over the years. And Richard Pryor. I mean, the list goes on. But I had a million influences for sure. I'm first and foremost a fan of comedy. And I was before I became a stand-up, and I hope that I'm still a fan of comedy. It's nowhere near the extent it used to be, but I'm still a fan and still will watch, especially the old guys, especially Carlin and Newhart and stuff like that. I'll watch or listen to them all the time. I'm such a huge fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw you got something like George Carlin Way. What's that about? Was that
yeah, man. George Carlin Way is an effort to name a street here in New York City, the street that George Carlin grew up on, to name it after him, to call it George Carlin Way.
Oh, okay.
And it's an effort that I spearheaded this thing, and it was not even that I was doing it as some super fan, paying homage to his hero or something like that. It was just I happened to live in the same neighborhood where George grew up, and I found the street where he grew up in because he printed his address of where he grew up in his book. So I walked over there one day, and then I was saying to a buddy, another comic, it's weird. I was just over there, and the street's not named after him, and somebody ought to do that. And
Yeah.
He convinced me that I should do it, and at the time it was we didn't know how difficult it was going to be, and I thought it was a cool idea, and I needed to do something non-stand-up just to get my mind on something other than stand-up and a little pastime or a hobby. And, I started working on that. We started collecting signatures, and then lo and behold, we got into a big fight with the Catholic Church.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, they have a parish right on that street, and it's called Corpus Christi, and it's actually the school that George went to, and it's 3 doors down from his home, and his mother moved them there specifically because of that school and the progressive education that they were doing, and so he could walk there from the apartment without ever having to cross the street. So he's their most famous alumni, and at different times, the church has been either supportive of him. This particular, parish has been loving and embracing of him, or has been less than so. And it just so happened that when I was trying to get this street named, the leader of the parish at that time was a very crotchety old priest who had he had a personal grudge against George. So
Yeah. Oh,
lo and
fuck.
behold, he started a campaign, and it was a political fight between the two of us. that
Just to
played
go
out.
right against you, hey?
Well, yeah, man. The best thing was they were doing it, and his reasoning wasn't he couldn't say because I have a personal gripe against George
Because
He
of
had
his material, like he would have had a gripe against it because of like with the things he went on to say.
He claimed if you listen to George's albums, especially Class Clown, there's a lot where he talks about Corpus Christi and growing up, and
Oh, yeah.
he names some of the priests by name, but it's not slamming them personally and shit like. Anyway, this priest was so old that he was a contemporary of those guys, and he took that personal. So anyway, so that's what he had, but he couldn't make that his argument. So the argument he took was that George used dirty words and was trying seriously, he wanted to protect students of the school. He didn't want them to walk by a sign, see George Carlin's name, Google George Carlin,
And find profanity.
hear dirty words. I think it's more that George, talked about questioning authority and thinking for yourself, and those are cancer to the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
You can't-
fucking right.
You can't have anybody doing that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, they put up this big fight. They were trying to protect the children, which was a nice change for them. And it
I took a second there.
Is there a little delay on the Skype?
No,
Yeah.
it's just the sky. We're not dumb.
Yeah, we weren't slow. We weren't slow.
So no, but it's been an effort for like 3 years, and we finally come to a compromise with the church, so they're not an issue anymore. And we're at the final stage, actually. Sometime in June, the city council here in New York will vote on it as a part of a larger measure. They vote on all the street co-namings that come up in a 6-month span,
Yeah.
and they just give it a green light. So we're, knock on wood, we're about 97% of the way there. We're just waiting for that final rubber stamp, and then the it'll be done.
Who's got to pay for the street sign?
I believe that the city actually does. However, if it comes to us having to pay for it, we will have that taken care of.
Let us know. We can pitch a couple dollars from our sponsors. I'm sure.
We may. I will let you know. We may do like some fundraisers like that. We did a fundraiser show, but we may, if we have to raise a few more funds to actually buy the sign, we may do an online campaign, maybe some raffle. I've got some autographs.
Just do a fundraiser with Bruce Wayne and his buddies. They seem to raise a lot of money.
Who's that?
Bruce Wayne. It's from Batman.
Oh, Batman.
That
yeah.
line in the movie is like, you do one fundraiser with my boys, you'll never need money again.
We did an awesome one, man. Last summer, we did one at Gotham, and it was
Yeah.
the lineup was just amazing. I mean, Lewis Black, Dave Attell, Nick DiPaolo, Todd Barry, Eddie Brill, Judah Friedlander, and a couple more. The list goes on. It was the most insane lineup of comics that night. We did it like a George Carlin tribute, and
Yeah.
we raised a lot of money that one to help pay for all the costs that had been incurred to date. So we'll see. Whoever it takes to pay for the actual sign. I don't think the actual metal sign is all that expensive.
No, I know. I'm just bugging.
I know. I might just go out of pocket on it.
Might just go to pocket on that one. Sick.
Can I just go to Sharper Image and have them make one? Probably.
You could probably just get a Lamicoid made up or some kind of laminate, put it
Yeah,
over
right.
there.
I tell you what, when we do get it made up, we're going to have to hang that thing very high because it's right outside a college dorm.
Yeah.
And people are going to steal that sign left,
Oh,
right, and center.
fucking rights, man.
Room.
You're going to take
Right
out
now,
insurance
the
policy
number
on it.
The number one stolen street sign in New York right now is I believe still Joey Ramone's, and that's out by like where CBGB's was. So yeah, we're gonna have to probably raise $1 million just to have a stockpile of signs.
Just every Sunday morning. Ah, son of a bitch, would you look at that? The fucking
Hey, I would
sign's
steal
gone
one
again.
myself.
Woo! Allegedly.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about the process of writing and spending so much time in comedy clubs like you do, and like you said, growing up and watching over and over. That thing they talk about, the parallel creativity, where you think you're coming up with that joke, but it's actually you've heard it somewhere in a club, but you don't know it belongs to some other comic, and you're kind of treading on the lines of that joke. How do you watch out for stuff like that, and what's the checking process like in like say just the New York scene?
Yeah, it's like great minds think alike kind of thing. It's inevitable sometimes. The best thing you can do to insure against it is just really focus on writing completely personal material, anecdotes and stuff from your own real life, and that, you know. But a lot of times, you know, there's a million guys out there doing comedy, and you know, especially if you're talking about things in the news, there's only so many takes on it, and it's inevitable that somebody's going to do it, and blah blah blah. Kind of the ethos goes, the first guy to get it on. It used to be the first guy to get it on television. It was his joke, something like that. So,
Right.
You know, personally for me, I've been on both sides of it. I remember having, when I was young, a young comic doing a bit, and then seeing David Cross do that same bit on a Showtime special. And not only did he do the bit, he did it 10 times better and strung it out so much because he's a goddamn genius. And I'd never seen the special, and I'd never met him, and we just both happened to have had the basic same idea. So as soon as I saw that, you know, David Cross is doing it, and it's already, especially that it's on TV, I just, okay, well, I'll never do that bit again, and I threw it out and wrote something new. That's all you can do. You just get rid of the bit. You know, you don't want people thinking that you stole it. They don't want people thinking that you know, or just you don't want to be doing material becomes hacky when everybody's doing it. So I really try to keep my stuff as different as I can from everybody else, so that I don't have to deal with that.
Right.
You know, because it sucks. Because you're doing a bit and you're loving it, and then you just have to throw it away.
Yeah, man, big time.
So you just legitimately thought of it yourself.
Yeah. I know. I was down at school there, and I told a joke that I've been trying to write comedy now, sit down, actually write it out, because I'm trying to talk myself into going on stage and trying it out. And I told this joke that I totally concocted myself, thought it was great, told it to a group of buddies, everyone laughed, and then one kid in the back corner is like, "Oh, dude, I saw that on something, whatever." He claimed it was someone else's shit.
Yeah.
And I got, fuck. I was like, no way. So I started Googling it, but there's no way to, like, you can't just type in Google and put in like a punchline and find it, right? But
probably not.
unless it's like a big name joke, right? Like,
yeah, because I mean, otherwise for Google to work, would have to find words, so it would have to be transcribed somewhere.
yeah.
Right? I don't think Google can take text from audio.
Yeah, exactly.
7 words you can't say on television.
Right. Yeah, that's been written out in a million times. So you'll be able to find that. But yeah, it just happens. It's a part of the biz, and you know.
You might have some insight from this in your area. What was the story behind Leary and Bill Hicks and that sort of joke theft? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know. That was before my time. Bill Hicks died, I think, just as I was moving to New York. And Dennis Leary. That was a bit before my time. I don't know much. I know what I've heard anecdotally was that Bill Hicks, I guess Leary had done a lot of Hicks style or something, or material or whatever, allegedly, and Bill Hicks, when he knew he was dying, a couple days or weeks before, the legend was that he called Leary and said, "I'm going to be dead soon, so you can take the rest of my act," or something like that. That's the thing I remember reading or hearing about, but I don't know anything otherwise than anecdotes that you guys probably would have heard too, because it was, like I said, before my time.
Right.
Hey, you want to grab me a beer?
Yeah, sure.
So we got to reload on a couple beer here.
Sure, beer run.
Yeah. we gotta start paying a guy to fucking just stand behind the camera there and toss us beers. So you
don't have to pay. That's an intern. That's what interns are for. You just gotta file and get an intern.
Yeah.
So you just gotta keep giving us beer.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So, being in the comedy business, do you ever feel like there's some pressure to move on out west to LA? Like, I know comics do that, but it's more like you can get writing gigs and things like that. Do you ever think about stuff like that, or is it just straight stand-up for you right now?
No, I don't. Moving to LA doesn't appeal to me. There's plenty of stuff in New York, and New York scene is really growing for that. I mean, we've got, as far as, writing and whatnot. We have, 3 of the late night shows. You've got the UCB is here. I've been working with them for a little while now, studying with them. A lot of casting goes on out of there. So just in late night, Letterman's here.
Yeah.
You've got Fallon is here.
Yeah.
Seth Meyers is here. I think Carson Daly. No, Carson's in Los Angeles. And then The Daily Show and The Colbert Report and all sorts of other stuff. There's plenty of work here in New York. But to answer your question, no, it's not just strictly stand-up for me. I study improv and I write sketches and I, make short films and do podcasts and I like collaborating with other funny people and doing things, whether it's my project or theirs, and keeping busy. Stand-up is one part, but there's oftentimes, especially, when you're writing, that you may find a bit or do a bit as a stand-up and have an idea of what's funny, and it just, no matter how you try it, it doesn't work on stage.
Right.
And it may just be that whatever you think is funny, just stand-up isn't the best vehicle to present it, and maybe it's an idea that's better fleshed out in a sketch or a short film or a script or a play or whatever. So I like to just keep busy and do whatever and study and learn all aspects of comedy and I don't like just sitting around doing nothing. I like to be working on something, and I like collaborating with people. It's fun.
Yeah, it's like you said, like you're a fan of comedy, and anyone who gets involved in something like that, you see it with whatever they're a fan of. They, more than even themselves, they just want that sport or that activity to grow, right? Like you said, you like helping out other people or working on someone else's project and stuff like that. Sure. I mean, anything that'll help it grow, right?
It absolutely. And the cool thing is that having done a lot of collaborative stuff and working for others, one of the nice things is, part of it is you make connections, and that turns into business. I got a nice little side business of ghostwriting for other comics or doing punch-up on guys' stuff. And that's awesome, and that's just because I've worked well with others and people thought I was funny and was a good writer. And, a guy will call you up and be like, I'm going to be doing such and such a show, or I'm going to be on the radio. Can you help me out? And then, I'll write some things for him. And, those are the kind of things that help keep me from having a day job.
Yeah, exactly.
How often does something like that ghostwriting go on? Like, what kind of profile comic would have someone doing that for them? And is it hush hush in the comedy scene, or is it openly known?
It's hush hush in the fact that I don't ever say who I write for.
Right.
I don't point, but no, you'd be surprised. Like, it's not always just stand-ups, but like, to give you an idea, because this show's no longer on. If you remember, like Countdown with Keith Olbermann, his show on MSNBC, the fifth act of that show was always they would have an entertainer or a comic, and it was a bit lighter, talking about some lighter side of the news. And so that guest would oftentimes, not know the topics. They're shooting in the evening at 7:00 at night, not know what they're going to be talking about that night on national TV until like 3 in the afternoon. So there's a rush for them to get jokes and to seem interesting on the show, so that they would hire me for that. They would send me the email as soon as they got it about the topics, and I'd have like 2 hours to write, 5, 10 jokes, quips, lines on each subject. So when Keith would ask them a question, they would have something to say. You know? So a lot of that kind of stuff. Or guys would have a script, would have a series, would have a whatever that they're working on and just want a fresh set of eyes, and they hire me to read over and make changes and recommendations. It could lead to, hey, I've written commercials for people. I've done all sorts of different, it could lead to whatever. It's just having another writer on hand. It's a cool thing. Yeah. Very rarely it happens, but it's very rare that I actually write stand-up for a guy. It's usually not that. It's a lot more being a guest on something. Yeah,
it makes sense. I mean, if you got a good stand-up bit, you're going to want to use it yourself, right?
Well, yeah, I don't like writing I don't generally write a bit with the idea of selling it. I write it for myself. But if a guy hires me to come sit and watch his act, then I'm writing jokes that are tailored to his voice and are tagged onto his own act and generally wouldn't work for me anyway. So that's a totally different discipline. It's not like I'm giving up my baby on that one. I'm just,
Right.
I'm a writer for hire, and whatever funny stuff I write in this hour or two that you've hired me, well, that's yours. You paid for it.
What what's usually like a entry level thing? Like if you're looking to get some stage time, do you just hang around and keep asking? Like,
if there is an established, a real comedy club
yeah,
close by, go into the club and talk to the manager, talk to the owner, tell them that that you'll work for free. I mean, really, just get your foot in the door there.
for sure.
That if they'll throw you some guest spots here and there, you'll do whatever, tear some tickets or come in on the off night and clean the place or something, or
Right.
ideally something where you can spend your evening at the club watching the professionals work and learning from them, and meanwhile getting to make some connections and meet them and get on stage here and there and start that way.
Right.
I think that's a great in. Just if you've never done it and or you've only done it a little bit, calling a club booker and keep asking him, that's just pestering him. He can't use you yet because
Right.
you can't really,
Yeah, no one's gonna come there to see you.
Yeah, and even if you can't bring the ruckus for 10 minutes,
Right.
the audience that's in his place paid money, so he can't put you up until they would be satisfied that they paid money and saw that. So,
Right.
there's a trade. When you start off, the trade is you bring some people to help, put some asses in the seats, or you deliver French fries and things like that. Do
Right.
that for a while, learn, then try to produce a show, a night of your own is another good one after a little while.
Oh, okay.
Maybe on an off night at the club, a glorified open mic or something like that helps you establish connections with new comics and other people, like-minded people from your area who are into comedy, and that's where you start to find the guys that you sit and, write with and sit up all night at a diner, drinking coffee, just jamming with. Like, that's that fun.
Yeah.
That's the fun romantic aspect of stand-up when you're young, is doing all that kind of stuff. And that's how you meet those guys. And then really just get on stage as often as you can and keep growing and writing and trying and just following what you think is funny and what you think is different.
Right.
Because it's no different than going to the gym. I mean, you can't bench press 300 pounds right away. That takes a long time
Yeah.
to build that muscle.
Hell, doing 200's a hard time.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Whatever it is, whatever the amount, it's a tough thing, and you just got to go in and work and like trying to throw a free throw. Just the more you do it, the better you get at it. So
What about what's a good amount? Like, is it 5 or 10 minutes for a guest spot? Like, what's a good amount of material you should have on you if you're gonna go up on stage the first time?
You should always have more material than is necessary. So if they're going to give you 5 minutes, have 10 minutes ready, because especially when you're beginning, you're gonna burn through that material in a hurry.
Me and him always talk about that. We're like, I think if we got on stage, you'd just blow your whole wad in like 5 minutes, and you'd be sitting there with your thumb up your ass for the next 5.
Exactly, because you get up there and you think something's going to work, and then it doesn't.
Yeah.
And you are not comfortable sitting there in that silence.
So you're
That
just
makes
grabbing
that
gears.
decision. If that joke had hit, that would have been 7 seconds that was full of laughter.
Yeah.
And otherwise it would be 7 seconds of awful. So then you do the next joke right on top of it, and that doesn't work. And then you start talking a little faster and getting a little bit more animated, because what the hell, I got to do something. And all of a sudden you've been talking at this speed and nobody can even pay attention anymore. And you just went through all 10 minutes and you look at your watch and you're like, son of a bitch, it's only been 3. What am I going to do?
At that point, you just start juggling, or you start doing some kind of fucking sideshow.
Yeah, that's a very common rookie thing. So have more material and just be ready. But a place, if you're just starting out, you've never done it before, 5 minutes to 7 minutes is a very good goal. Start there. Get your first 7 minutes that you know. Like I said, I wouldn't let anyone in my family or anyone I knew see me for 6 months, and I waited. And it wasn't until about 6 months that I actually was comfortable that I had at least a competent 7 minutes.
Right.
So they can see me do something and I was pretty sure that I could at least
Get some
you know,
laughs.
I could at least keep my head above water for 7 minutes and not embarrass myself. So
Right.
work on that, and then set your next goal is, well, stretch this 7 into 10,
Mhm.
and then that 10 into 15, and then and then take that 15 and edit it and cut it back down to 5 and start all over.
Yeah. Just
Seriously,
gotta.
that's how you get good. You have to keep editing and getting tighter.
Yeah, just get a tight 5. Hey.
Absolutely. That's all you do. If you do Letterman or Conan or something, it's 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you watch,
You lost your mic.
Last Comic Standing. Sorry,
I-
something like Last Comic Standing, where
I don't watch that show, but okay. Go
right,
ahead.
but well, the fact that it existed, the premise of it that it all comes down to a tight 5 minutes. It's false in comedy. If your career came down to having a tight 5 minutes, I think comedy's a way longer payoff than that.
Sure.
So the show's unrealistic about finding the best comic, because some
there-
guys don't have a 5 minute thing.
Like a
Yeah,
lot of
they're
guys
trying-
say they need at least. They say they won't even do 5-minute spots anymore, right? Because it's just not enough time to work any of their bits out.
Sometimes. Look. If your goal is to do Letterman, then yeah, you do need a tight 5 minutes that's perfect for that show.
Right.
But if you want to be a working comic, no, you need far more than a tight 5 minutes. I mean, you can't even get a booker to look at you to host a show unless you've got 20 minutes,
Right.
and that's just to get a $25 or a $50 spot.
Yeah.
It's just to be able to do that. So you need to you need to have at least an hour, I think, before you can call yourself a real comic. To be
Yeah.
able to know that in a pinch you can go up and do a full hour and consistently get laughs. Once you can clear that, then yeah, man, then you can hang and then keep working.
Yeah. Do you have an hour special out anywhere?
I actually am about to record my second one. Yeah, my first one is out. It's called Showing the Horses Who's Boss.
Yeah.
It's available on Amazon and iTunes and all over the place, and there's links to it from the homepage of kevinbartini.com.
So if you're gonna buy that, go through our website through Amazon. Kick us a little bit of money and then buy it off of Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, check it out. And I'm in the process of getting ready. I think probably in July I'll record the next one.
Awesome.
You got a working title?
I don't yet, and I really suck at titling. Showing the Horses Who's Boss has absolutely nothing to do with anything that's uttered on the actual special. I couldn't come up with a decent title, and if you see the cover of the album, it's basically a dick joke. You see the picture of me from behind. You see me from behind, and I'm in front of a horse who's kind of like turned his head away, and it looks like I'm flashing him. And it's just a big dick joke. But
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the album, and it only happened because that was actually taken across the street from my parents' house, and I got drunk at a family party and went across the street and flashed the horse. And my brother taking pictures. Literally how it happened. So I
That's
have no
awesome.
idea. Yeah, so I have no idea what the next one will be called. I don't want to be naming it after a bit or a punchline.
Right.
That's all cheesy, and when they do that in movies and stuff.
Well, clearly, Kev, you just got to get drunk again and go and do something fucking awesome.
That's probably what I'll end up doing. It'll probably be me getting drunk and flashing a cop or something, and then being beaten with a baton. Maybe that'll be the image. Who knows?
The metal stick of love.
Yeah, right now I'm just working on getting getting that hour where I want it is right, where I'm at right now. It's getting all that material and in what order, and I think once I know exactly what the material is, I'll be able to hopefully really kind of find a cohesive theme or something, and then be able to name the album based on that. But that's generally like the last thing.
Yeah. I mean,
is title it. Yeah.
that's just the small shit, right? I mean, getting
Yeah,
the hour is the big deal, right?
What's that?
Like just working on getting the tight hour down to where you want it's obviously the hardest
Yeah.
part. I mean, coming up with a name, you can just put a bunch in a hat pretty much and pull it out.
Yeah, I could just call it Kevin Bartini Live if I wanted to just do a cop out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
I want to ask you, who are the 3 best working today? Do you have a top 3 of the guys working today? The comedians that bench press the most. Comedians,
Best
yeah.
comedian working today. Boy, well.
And then one dark horse. I want one dark horse from you. Somebody that might be underrated.
Right. Dark horse. All right. I love Brian Regan. He's
Especially
always,
being clean, that clean.
He's clean and he's amazing. The guys I always like are the guys who are who combine quantity and quality. Like he's always coming up with new material. He's the kind of guy. Tell are guys who with like I haven't opened it, but I had friends who have, and I've opened for Tell, and both of these guys, and I witnessed how can do a weekend of clubs. Of spots and never repeat a joke the whole weekend at a club.
Really?
And they just crush. So those 2 are my favorites. I love Bill Burr.
Man.
I love Ted Alexandro's great. Lewis Black I love. Gaffigan I love. Norton. But a dark horse, somebody I love that you maybe wouldn't have. I don't know. We wouldn't have heard of. It's so hard to gauge these days too because of the internet and of all these other things.
Yeah, it's definitely out there. Like it's easy to.
Yeah, there's so much you have no idea who's famous and who's not, and how well you're known when you come to a town or what people know me from. It's very strange.
Say maybe like a guy like when Patrice was there.
Kevin Downey Jr. is my dark horse. He's a good friend of mine, and he's an awesome writer. Check him out, Kevin Downey Jr.
Where can people look at him? Where can we find him?
He was, I don't know, on the line, just Google his name. I imagine KevinDowneyJr.com. He was on America's Got Talent last year, and he's been around for a long time. And he's one of the first guys I actually met, and he's awesome.
Awesome.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right, well, are we at an hour?
We got 45. Fuck, there was one thing I was going to ask.
We got some time here.
We got 10. Okay, well, fill the space. You said you golf. We'll let that lead into something.
Yeah, how's your golf game?
Not good. I haven't been out yet. It's too cold still and wet. But I golf a couple times a year. It's a good way to kill some. It's a good way to kill 5 hours on a Saturday when you're on the road.
Either that, or you can watch the last 5 minutes of a basketball game.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck.
I like golf. I've played it ever since I was a little kid. Do you guys play too?
Yeah, we do. Actually, the studio's pretty much on a golf course.
What are you doing inside talking to me?
Yeah, I know. That's that sun beaming through the light there.
Working.
That's right.
Yeah, I know we golf. We're Canadian, so obviously we play a lot of hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey's our go-to. That's what we love. Bill Burr. Bill Burr always gives shouts out to hockey. Shout out.
Yes. Yeah, on his podcast. Yeah, he's phenomenally funny.
Yeah, he's a real funny dude, man.
Absolutely.
Like for him to be able to he's got the Bill Burr Monday Morning Podcast, and for him to be able to carry an hour of just podcasting by himself every Monday,
right?
Like
Very impressive.
He fills an hour at a time up, and it's always interesting shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I listen. That's the best compliment I can pay to another comic is I listen to their podcast, or I would spend money to buy a ticket to see them.
Right.
And I would definitely do that with Bill Burr.
Yeah.
I would definitely, and have done that with Brian Regan.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Who comes through up where you guys are? Do you get to see anybody live? Anybody cool?
We get some small comedy. I know we just had a comedy tour come through here. Arj Barker was headlining it.
Okay.
But the other guys were just openers pretty much.
We had Seinfeld a little while ago.
Oh yeah? He's great.
Yeah, he came by.
Yeah, he's still doing it, man. Like he's still
does
tight.
it?
Kev, you know who I've heard is really tight right now is Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby's always.
Apparently his hour right now is unbelievable.
Yeah. Is it the same stuff that he just did on the Comedy Central special, or he must be new things?
I don't think so. I've just heard it from people who've seen his show, like his live show.
Yeah. I want to see. I've never seen him live. He's one of those. Him and I want to see. Newhart doesn't do too much anymore, but boy, if I could see those guys live while I still have a chance, that would be awesome. I mean, Bill Cosby's. Anybody who wants to be a comic should just study Bill Cosby. And,
Yeah.
the guy can talk about whatever, and he can talk about it for 15 minutes and absolutely be hilarious.
Clean.
Yeah, and clean, absolutely.
Which is
Freaking
really
great.
difficult. Have you ever had a clown request you to stay clean?
Yeah, that happens from time to time. Generally, well, this happened not long ago. Is the worst gig I've had probably in 5 years. I was at this. It was so awful. I was at this resort, this couple's screw palace in the Poconos. I mean, literally, the room they gave me had a heart-shaped bed. It had a mirror over the bed, and it had the champagne glass thing. Like,
Yeah.
they expected me to sleep in this room. Like, it was like you were just inhaling dried jizz. You know, it was so. Like, the only way I would sleep in that room is if I walked in and just my hair just went white from the bleach fumes. Otherwise, I'm not going anywhere near this place. And they had a comedy show. It was just part of the free package for the weekend. You know, it was just part of the entertainment. So couples in the refractory period would have something to do, and they came to watch the comedy. And it was, boy, everything was awful about it. And then right as I was about to go on, whoever was running the room just asked me if I could keep the F-bombs down to a minimum. I'm like, what do you think everybody's doing here? Like, literally, this guy asked me to do this, and his back was to the gift shop, where the gift shop started with a bunch of Poconos aprons and T-shirts, and then right behind that was just a huge wall of dildos and vibrators and boobs. I'm not exaggerating. And he, with dildos dangling from the wall behind him, asked me to keep the F-bombs to a minimum.
That is fucking awesome.
It is absolutely true. I had another time, I remember when I was working the door at Stand Up New York,
Yeah.
and part of our pay was we would get guest spots on the shows, and especially on the early shows at night, like a 6 o'clock show or something like that. And there was one producer who considered herself a Christian, and she wanted clean comedy, and if she was going to give us the benefit of doing a guest spot, it had to be squeaky clean, right? And then this bitch goes on, and she has fake glasses with the Asian slanty eyes on them, like straight out of comic books. And she, the clean Christian woman, did 7 minutes of Ching Chow Bing Bong. I'm not joking. I was like, you hypocrite bitch. I want to get back to the stage now and curse and swear just because I didn't realize that you can't say the F word, but you can be wildly racist. That's totally acceptable.
That's fucking hilarious.
It is.
She sold you out. She just wanted to look better than you, that's all.
Yeah, right?
She's trying to make you go up and just fucking bomb, and then she wants to come out and kill it.
Yeah. Generally now, I mean, I get booked through other, agents and bookers and stuff, and so they all ask at some point, do you feel comfortable doing clean? Where do you stand? And I don't do like shock humor, and I don't curse just for the sake of cursing, but I don't want to. When you do have to be squeaky clean, stuff like that, you get up into your own head the whole time, and you're just saying, oh, don't say fuck, oh, don't say fuck, and you're no longer present in your act, and it affects the act, and you never do as well. So I just think it doesn't reflect what I do. I don't enjoy doing it, and the audience there who paid money isn't getting me at my best, so I generally turn down stuff. I'll respect it if somebody's like, if you can just kind of keep it, don't kill yourself.
Right. Just don't overfuck.
Yeah, keep it to a PG-13 or a soft R. It's like, all right, yeah, no problem. I'll respect that, but don't, I don't take gigs anymore that are like you have to be squeaky clean.
Yeah,
and
like
all
don't.
That crap.
Yeah, no.
Because there are plenty of guys out there who can do it and who can give that audience a better show.
Right.
And I learned a while back not to take gigs just for the paycheck, because the ones you take just for the money always end up sucking and you get screwed over somehow and humiliated. So
right.
I try not to do that, and those are usually the ones I would take just to make rent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed a young comic, anybody that's coming up with a style like a Stephen Wright Hedberg, like one liner, 2 lines, like real short bits? Is there anybody doing that anymore?
Sure. I mean, Kevin Downey Jr. is a guy. He doesn't have that cadence of a Stephen Wright or the low key. He's much higher key, but he's everything that's just set up punch,
right?
In that style. I do my stand-up is very much set up punch, but I'll string those setup punches together for a one bit
Right.
that is based on a story or something that may take 5 to 7 minutes to get through.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's setup punch, except for where Wright or Hedberg was doing it. It was setup punch, brand new subject, setup punch, brand
Right.
new subject. So that's the difference.
Right.
But everybody, if they're doing it right, is doing setup punch, get your laugh, get the less words between the laughs, the better. Keep them rolling and get them laughing harder. That's the name of the game.
Is Wright still doing stuff in New York? Does he still get up at clubs?
Stephen Wright?
Yeah, Stephen Wright, sorry.
He's a Boston guy. I don't know that he was ever a New York guy, to tell you the truth.
Oh, okay.
But no, guys like that, he would be touring the country, doing theaters and doing casinos and things like that. I'm sure he has his own way of working in new stuff, and I would be willing to guess that he'll drop into places in Boston or closer to wherever he lives these days. But I've never seen him in a club in New York. I've only met him once, and that was in the lobby of Sirius XM. We were both going in to do interviews on shows, so we crossed paths for 2 minutes, but that would be it.
Nice.
Okay, well, yeah, we're about an hour here now, Kev.
Awesome.
I think we've been having issues anytime we go above an hour lately. I don't know, we've been crapping out here. Yeah, so I figure we better cut this thing off before we have some kind of epidemic fail here.
Sounds fine. Well, thank you guys for having me on.
No, it was awesome having you. We'd love to have you again. Well,
anytime. Just you got my contact now, so whenever you want to do it, just give me a day or two heads up, and we'll make it happen.
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, you got a couple shows coming up or something you want to let people know about, or?
Easiest thing is just send people to kevinbartini.com. I try to keep my calendar updated, and you can see videos, and you can find my Twitter and everything. That's the main hub. If you go to kevinbartini.com, everything else is pretty much covered.
Awesome.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, it was a pleasure, and let's do it again sometime soon.
All right,
For
Kev,
sure.
good
Okay,
talking
thanks,
to you, man.
Kev. Good talk.
Take care of yourselves.
See ya.
Yeah. It's almost like you stole your closing line.
Kevin
Yeah.
Bartini. No, I say take care of each other.
You say take care of each other. That guy said take care of yourselves. Great
Just-
fucking guy.
Probably thought we were a gay couple.
I know. That's like when we were setting the interview up. I did not want to say to him.
He just closed his laptop and went, oh, fucking quiz.
I didn't want to say because I was like, we had hockey Wednesday, Thursday. And so I was telling him we can't do it this Wednesday, Thursday. And I was going to type, we have hockey Wednesday, Thursday. I was like, no, don't say we have hockey Wednesday, Thursday. He's going to think you guys are a gay fucking couple. So it's like, nothing wrong about being gay. We're on the air. You can be gay if you want. Anyway.
All right, you crazy fuckers. We're going to try and get more guests like that since the Skype thing's really working out. We're going to try and bring on some people you might actually be interested in. That was a fun experiment, though.
Okay, we're out here. Peace.
Take care of each other, you fucks.